Hello, it's Jimmy here at O'Reilly's. So looking at a Iveco daily. Okay, so this is a 2.3. It's having some issues with the DPF, and it's also got a power loss. You can see down there that someone's fitted a new turbo. Okay, so I have just been currently going through a little bit for the past we had a look at this at sort of 9:35, so 20 minutes to go. We've got fault codes for particle filter high resistance, which is a 242F97. Sorry, try and get that so we can see there what we're looking at. We've got some short circuits of the lights, instrument cluster error detected. P1206 particle filter high resistance has been detected. And then we've got a 242F97. Again, the same sort of description on the code. So what I've done is I've cleared some of the codes and taken on a little bit of a test drive just to see what actually comes back as a fault. And of course looking at live data. So if we go back in here now, we'll have a look again. Okay, so we're in and we're going to read what fault codes have come back. Software restart. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but we've got back the particle filter high value, which is that code. So my problem is this software restart, whatever that means, is that going to affect the vehicle being able to do a regen? But I've already confirmed that it doesn't, because what I've done is I've reset the codes, reset everything, and when I've taken it around the block, I've seen that the vehicle has tried to do a regen, but then it gave up because the pressure is too high. And I've also noticed that we've got a large hissing noise when we're driving, so we're going to have a look at that. He said it had a new turbo. This is where it gets really silly. The vehicle, when it had a loss of power, they had a check at a mechanic. It had DPF high pressure, but it had a loss of power. So they said, oh, the loss of power is not going to happen over that. The DPF's blocked because of the loss of power, so they changed the turbo. Sorry, customer came and wanted to have a quick chat, but yeah, it's had a turbo replaced because the power wasn't there. It didn't have any turbo faults or nothing that indicated it needed a turbo, but they said because it had power loss, they just assumed it might have needed a turbo, so they put one on. So that was obviously a waste of money. But I can now hear a large hissing noise. He said the hissing noise wasn't there before the turbo was fitted, so of course it sounds like the person who's fitted the turbo hasn't fitted it correctly, or maybe it's got a boost leak. I honestly haven't checked that yet, so we'll get under there and have a look. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press the rev. I'm not sure if you can hear, but it's definitely got a hissing noise down there. Now this is something else that he's just chucked at me, which is the DPF pressure pipe. You can see there where that was sitting against the DPF and it melted. They did change that for a new one. Okay, so we're just driving the vehicle up on the ramps. I will tell you the mileage is 247,000. So I think what I'm going to do first is hook up a smoke test to the exhaust, because I'm going to see if we can find a visible leak. Now I'm not sure if you can see just up there. So we're looking from this direction. You can see there where that's been leaking around that clamp. So it hasn't been seated properly there. Okay, so I've just removed the bolts from the DPF just so we can get it to move and try and get this lined up properly and stop this leak that's coming from there. You can see where it's coming from there. Okay, so I've now fitted all of that back in. I've sort of pushed it up as best I can. It may need a new clamp, but let's try that. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to come back into the DPF and we'll look at the live data for the pressure. We'll flick all of these. Switch the ignition on. So 3000 RPM, looks like about 150. It's increasing. It's increasing a lot. Oh, the temperature's coming up. It's trying to do a regen now. And back down at idle, we're sitting at sort of 30 millibars. We'll hold the revs for a minute and see if the regen does any good. So this is probably a pretty rare vehicle that will actually just do a regeneration on the spot there. We'll just hold the revs for a minute, couple of minutes. Okay, I can see the temperature there is going a little bit above where it should be. Oh, there comes the viscous fan. Okay, so that is now coming back down. Looks like there was a long delay there before the viscous fan came on. So you can see there, when the temperatures come down from 600 degrees, the pressure of the DPF was halved. It was at 400. Okay, so we've ended up around about 165 millibars, and we've still got 30 millibars around that at idle. So what does this tell me? The vehicle's done 250,000 miles, it's just done a regen, and the pressure is still high. While the temperature of the DPF was at 600 degrees, we had 400 millibars. As the temperature came down to 200, it came down to sort of 170. So that tells me that the DPF's damaged, really. We can try and put some cleaner through it, but it might not make a difference. I can probably do it anyway, just for the video's sake, put the cleaner in and see what the pressure comes to after the cleaner. But my thoughts on this is that the DPF on this is damaged, because as it's getting hot, the pressure is doubling at least. Okay, so just here on these vans we have the DPF pressure holes. So I've disconnected that and attached up my gun here for the Launch UK DPF cleaning fluid. We'll get this pushed in there. We'll go down there to the DPF. And that's connected to the compressor at 130 psi. So you see a lot of steam now coming from the van. So we're back in the vehicle, revs at 3000 RPM again. Just seeing how low down we can get this. So a good DPF should come down to sort of 50 millibars, maybe 60. Somewhere between sort of 40 to 60 millibars. It is coming down, I'm surprised. So I'm just waiting for this to come down here at the minute. So what I'm guessing is going to happen with this is it's going to come down to maybe somewhere between 60 to 80 millibars, and somewhere between sort of 8 to 12 at idle, which would be not considered a blocked DPF, but it's just on the borderline. And what's going to happen there is it's when you're on that borderline, you've only got a certain amount of level left until it sort of gets full again. So what's going to keep happening is it's going to keep regenning, and it'll go up to the top again and regen back down, but it only comes to here because of the pressure. It's not coming right down as low as where it should. So with the pressure sitting on the borderline up here, it's going to sort of come about here, regen, come about here. You're going to get regens every sort of 20, 50 kilometers, 100, say 100 miles, 50 miles, anything like that. So it looks like we're leveled out round about sort of 67. Let me just creep those revs up slightly. 69 millibars. Right, we're going to let that idle now. Let's check it. Yeah, I see we're up around 8 or 9 millibars. So even though we've cleaned the DPF, it has come a lot cleaner, but it's on the borderline of where it needs to be. So like I said, it is clean, but it's just about on the border. So what's gonna happen with this is it's gonna regen a little bit more often. So pretty soon it's gonna need a new DPF. Some people say it's possible if you take them off, back flush them, some of maybe the ash can come out. But what's going to be happening here is it's either full of ash solids or the DPF itself is contracting as it gets hot, which is a damaged DPF. It's just worn out. Okay, so now I'm just going to clear the fault codes, and then if you read them you'll see there's no DTCs now. So that's it. We've done as best we could on that, and I'll see you on our next video.